This is the Wade Borth podcast, where smart ideas spark new opportunities. If you're ready to see money in a whole new way and build a life on your terms, you're in the right place.
Hello, and welcome back to the Wade Borth podcast. Today I have a special guest for anybody listening or watching. He is a good friend of mine. He is, I like to say that we're like-minded in the sense that we have an alignment of values. We have the way we think, which is kind of scary, is we kind of think alike. And so today I want to ask you to help me welcome Brent White out of the great state of Texas, Dallas, Texas. And welcome, Brent, and thank you for joining me today.
And super happy to be here. And it is kind of scary that we do think a lot alike. There's not many of us out there. There's becoming more and more, which is a good thing. But that is kind of a weird thing how we met, and it's because of like-minded thinking and trying to solve problems that are people are facing, and we see it every day. And it's spreading that message to teach people how to think differently.
Yeah. I think there's something he says, the longer you're in this business, the longer you're in whatever profession you are.
Yeah.
There is, I had a gentleman I knew really well. He'd always say the cream rises to the top and the cream sticks together.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like that.
And I think, the longer, again, I've been doing this a lot of years. You've been doing this a number of years. Our gray hairs don't, so.
I'm finally getting some, and people are listening to me. It's like I'm 52 years old. I'm starting to get gray hair, and I was like, man, I needed this when I was 35. I couldn't make it turn gray when I was younger because they want to hear the gray-haired guy talk, right?
Yeah, well, that's part of it. That's why I grew the beard, because it's even made more gray. Better gray than none is kind of my take on this. So
yeah.
Well, maybe share with the listeners kind of like your story and like how we came together, and then I'd love to kind of fill in Ruth after that.
Well, okay, I'd love to share the story because I think it's really good. And I noticed you have the Infinite Banking book behind you and on the back there. And one of the first times I was handed that book, I read the book and I threw it in the garbage can. Why did I throw it in the garbage can? It's because I thought the same way that everybody else thinks. This is a gimmicky. It's all these different things that we see people do. And that book does break a lot of this down. But it took me, I'm kind of a slow learner. It took me 17 years to pull it back out. And obviously I couldn't pull it out of the garbage can, but I had to buy another one and then read the book again. And I started thinking, man, why are more people in business not using these strategies? And they keep going to the bank to borrow money. They keep going to the bank. And I heard this one, and I don't remember where I heard this one just 2 weeks ago. I thought it was really interesting that we don't deposit money into the bank. We loan the money bank. We loan the bank money. We go down, we loan them money, and then we ask their permission for our money back. And they're like, well, here's a little debit card. You can use this as you need money, but you're only going to have $2,000 a day. And if you want more, you got to call me and ask for approval. I was watching a TV show, and the guys, went to take out a big withdrawal from the bank, and they go, we have to get a manager to approve this. I'm like, if that's my money, why do I have to get someone to approve my withdrawal from the loan that I gave you? So that's some of the process that kind of went through. And, I've always had a chip on my shoulder because when I was in college, I was going to go and become a CPA. And that's one of the things I stopped and just didn't have the time to go to college 10 more years because it was going to take me 10 years probably to do it. But I always had a chip on my shoulder. So I always thought there was a better way to do business. And you probably thought the same thing. There's advice being given to people. And this was really a big one to me. I thought there was a secret room that people got advice that's going to be so magical. When you get in that room, you're going to be able to tell a client something that they've never heard before. And there are a few little things here and there that maybe they've never heard before. So actually, my wife and I both went to work for a very large CPA firm. Now I think they're top 10 in the country. And they wanted to put together all these departments of, you had your investment team, you had your 401k team, your retirement specialist. They even had a Medicare specialist on the team that all they did was Medicare. And then the problem was none of these people ever knew what the other one was doing. So when they had a client, it'd be like, hey, I'm finished with this client now. Let me hand them over to you. And then you take it and see what you can do with them. And I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. Shouldn't we all be talking together and working this out? But one of the main things was my eye-opening moment was, there was a buy-sell agreement or something that they were working on in the life insurance department. And it was like a $50 million buy-sell. And they tried to sell some term insurance, and it just didn't work out. The guy ended up going to business with somewhere else. And I'm thinking, man, we had an opportunity here to show them how property and casualty ties into this, or how their exit strategy ties into that. And then I go back to, we departmentalize everything. And that's what we do in our lives, right? I need a retirement plan. I'm going to go talk to the retirement person. I need this. I need a loan. I'm going to go talk to the loan specialist when it all ties together. And I think we're doing our industry an injustice. And the more I was at that CPA firm and we kind of created the model that we create and use now, and we showed it to them, and they go, no, we don't want to do business this way. I looked at Suzanne, she looked at me, I said, we can't work here anymore. And this is the top 10 in the country. I'm not, when you see their numbers, you're like, man, they must be the best in the world. And when I tell you they're not, and they're not doing the things business owners need to be doing, and 80% of their clients won't be in business in 10 years, it's scary what we're doing and the advice we're getting, what we're seeing on television. And I point over here because there's a TV in the room, but and the marketing that comes out of this, and we're watching golf tournaments, and you see these. Why am I seeing this brand and they're pushing this stuff down your throat? And then you get in there and find out there's nothing unique and special about it. The unique and special, the unique and special sauce is sitting in that part of it, sitting in that book behind you, and then surrounding yourself with those people that can help you do it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that. I'll go back to people that know me. They probably heard me tell the story of I had to read Nelson's book 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's something there, but I was so
Yeah.
I wasn't going to believe it. And of course, I'm too German to throw it in the garbage because once I buy something. But I was like, so I picked up again and I picked up again, but I eventually got through it, kind of got over myself a little bit. Like, is there something here that I don't know? That was the question I had to ask myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, these big, and Nelson talks about in his book, he talks about the arrival center, and where I see what you're talking about, where everybody's compartmentalized. They're all like,
Yeah.
I'm the expert. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, what else do I need to know?
Yeah.
I think that's why we loved having that's why I love having a conversation with you, because every time I do, I learn something. Like, oh, I didn't know that, or that's exciting to me, and I can bring so much value knowing what you shared with me to my clients. And
Yeah.
that's the reason why we're doing the podcast today, because I don't have a scarcity mindset. I know you don't either.
Yeah.
Because this abundance mindset is there's so many people we can serve if we could just park our egos at the door.
Yep.
And say how do we serve our client versus how do we serve ourselves.
Agree.
I think that's the real key here, and that's why I love having this conversation with you. That's why we've kind of partnered together and saying,
Yeah.
how do we serve our clients, and how can we benefit our community by working together versus having this adversarial relationship.
One of our we talk about our 10 things that our morals and our goals and our values of our company, and having a servant's heart is at the top of the list. And that's why we couldn't work somewhere we had a conversation with an advisor we tried to recruit and come work with us. And he's like, why would I do things that way when the client comes in and asks for, they say, come in and say, I want an annuity. I just sell them an annuity. And I'm like, what if that's not what they really, really, really need? He goes, yeah, but why would I want to reteach them when I can just give them what they ask for? And I'm like,
Just because they're asking for something doesn't mean that that's what they need, right?
because they don't know. I mean, they don't know what.
I can go to the doctor and say, hey, I want X, but he's like, hey, that might kill you. But
Yeah.
if that's what you want,
Yeah.
that's what you need, I'll give that medication to you versus saying, well, let's look at the underlying problem.
Let's look at everything. Let's look at everything you're doing and figure out, hey, what can we do better? What can we do more efficient? If I sell a product to someone, is there a better product out there? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. These things do change a lot. It is an ever-changing market, but the plan is going to be as solid as we can actually build a plan. Because, there's 6,000 insurance companies in the United States today. How in the world is your CPA going to be able to tell you whether or not what you're doing is good or bad? They're not in it every day. They're not swimming in it, so they don't know. And to me, I bet I could write on a piece of paper 6 companies that I would do business with, and you could probably write 6 companies down too, and it's probably the same exact 6 companies. I'd be willing to bet. Yeah.
Because just because if we look at why do I work with certain companies, because of the alignment of values.
Yep.
Right. We see the leadership. We see the fact that top management owns the products we sell, that we own, that you and I both own.
Yeah.
And so when you start putting those filters on it versus like who's the biggest and who's the number one.
Yeah.
Just because they're number one or the biggest doesn't necessarily make them a good fit for who you are.
Yeah.
So that's why I think. Now, go ahead.
Yeah, so we had some really interesting stuff. So, Mount Everest has really been a big deal to ours. And I don't know if you noticed, we did a lot of logo and changing over the last few days. And we've been on this Mount Everest thing for 5 or 6 years now, where we've really studied it. And there was a guy, Nimsdai Perji. I don't know if I've told you the story about this guy. The record, I think it's 14 peaks in the world, the tallest 14 peaks. There was a guy years and years and years ago, Reinhardt was his last name. He was a European. He climbed all 14 peaks, and it took him 8 years. So this guy that's a Napoleon mountain climber, his name is Nimsdai Purji, and I think I'm saying that correctly. He did it in 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And so we're watching this video, and I'm like, it was on Netflix. And it's called, oh shoot, I forgot. Oh, I'll think of it here in just a second. Nothing is impossible. And watching this documentary about this guy doing this, one, he was in incredible shape. He didn't just go start climbing mountains, right? He was prepared. I think being prepared is very important. And then the next thing he did was surround himself with a team of people. He built his team. So he knew exactly what he was going to do, how he was going to do it, had his team of people to do it. So when they show people climbing Mount Everest, one of the things we always look at is, you ever seen like there's like about 50 people stuck up there right now? There's a snowstorm came in yesterday, and it's a big deal. There's a big rescue trying to get about 50. So this could be a really tragic day at Mount Everest. But one of the things that people don't understand is most people, even if they make it to the top, most of the people that die on the way down. And it's they didn't prepare for going up and going down. And when we look at those numbers, it's about it's the 80-20 rule, I think, is what we always look back to. And business owners, about 80% of them fail within 10 years. And it goes back to that 80-20 rule. How do you put those odds in your favor? And you can't keep doing things the way your next door neighbor is doing it. Just because he's had success doesn't mean he couldn't have more success. It doesn't mean he's going to be in business in 10 years. And I don't know how many times we see that scenario of, and my neighbor's doing so good, and then all of a sudden they're out of business. Their job and everything just went to crap. What was the Nokia? Was it Nokia that just finally filed bankruptcy a couple weeks ago?
Yeah. Back in the day, everybody had Nokia phones.
90% of the phone market, 95% of the cell phone market, and they didn't evolve, they didn't change. And so that stat of you're not going to be in business in 10 years, you have an 80% chance of not being in business in 10 years. They talked about that. And even if you've been in business 20 years, you still only have a 20% chance of being in business in the next 10 years. The number doesn't actually change because you've been in business longer. The problems just keep getting bigger, right? You make more money, but you're still doing things the same way everybody else is doing it. So you're compounding that problem, and that problem's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger too.
Yeah. Kind of the thought is that, what got you here isn't going to get you there.
Isn't going to get you there. What got you here isn't going to get you there. I mean, that sounds like something I would say. What got you here isn't going to get you there. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay.
But it's so true. You think about it, and then that's why, I look at like my own business, my own career. It's evolved. I mean, it's taken a lot of turns. A lot of turns. It's like a caterpillar, right? There's a lot of metamorphoses that go on.
Yeah.
I looked when I first got started, and I'm like, man, it seems so. I'm gonna call it juvenile because it's kind of what it was. How I acted when I first started in business was very juvenile to the business. And now I'm in a position where now I want to coach and I want to train, and so it's that constant evolving. But we have to think through that intentional. I think that's where you kind of come in lines. Like, how are we thinking about our business intentional?
We have a big saying on our wall of making decisions with a purpose. I want to make a decision, but I want to know why I'm making that decision. Not just, here's your retirement plan. Here's your exit strategy. Okay, well, what does that even look like? And same thing with our business. We just moved into new office space, and we have 8 offices around the wall. And I know exactly who's going in each office, and it's not based on production. It's based on what they do and the value that they bring to the planning that we do with clients. And so there's a purpose for all of it, and a reason. It's almost madness. I mean, it can drive you a little crazy, but we wanted everything to be the same. We wanted our message to be the same with the client, with advisors that we work with CPA comes in our office. He's going to know exactly what we do and how we do it. As soon as he walks in the door, you'll be able to see it. So we're really excited about the direction of what we're seeing and doing, but really making a difference in the business world. I think we're giving people a huge opportunity to not go out of business in 10 years. That's not to go out of business next year, not to go out of business in 5 years, but that 10, 20 year window, if we can drastically move that needle, I think that's really where we've done our job. And that's what we went out and created is a software program that allows us to put all this on a model and then surround ourselves with experts to do what I can't do. I was fortunate enough to, I had to marry Suzanne because I couldn't afford to pay her at the time. So I had to marry her. I snuck her in. I snuck that one in on her. But that conversation of property and casualty insurance in a business owner space, and they're paying 15, 16, 17% interest when they're premium financing it because they don't have another way. And the bank's not going to loan the money, and they don't have capital, or maybe they do have capital, but nobody's ever taught them some of the secrets that are in that book behind you. Again, we could keep going back to that, but we went to a big conference last week, and it was for 831Bs. Not going to name the company, but it's becoming how to become self-insured. And basically, they're becoming self-insured, but then they're hiring insurance companies to do everything. They're turning right back doing the same thing. And it's focused on exclusions in a policy. And I'm like, and Suzanne looked at me, I looked at her, I was like, why don't they just fix the policy?
Yeah, sometimes people are stacking over the crate. The crate is what's the Goldberg, right? It's that machine. Like we can take something simple, we can complicate it, and we can still end up in the same spot.
Yeah, it's like going to buy a new car because you don't like the tires on your car. Just fix the tires. You don't have to buy a new car. Just put new tires on it. We talk about tires a lot. I don't know why I call it something back to NASCAR. We use that analogy a lot. Is I can put you in NASCAR tomorrow, and you're not going to be able to drive that car. Or you don't take your car into Discount Wheel and Tire and say, put the best wheels on my car, and it comes out with some mud grips, and then you got to race NASCAR tomorrow. But it's not going to work. Like it all has to work together, and it has to make sense, and you have to know why you're doing it, what the outcome potentially looks like. And I think that's our message to business owners when we work with them is, what does this look like if you could sell your business? What does it even look like? It's like, I'm going to sell my house. We're looking at putting our house on the market right now. The market's really bad right now for selling a home in Texas. If you're buying a home, it's really good. Selling homes really bad. We're going to lose money if we sell our house today. We'd lose money on this house. By the time we pay realtor fees and market, we'd actually lose money. Well, I probably wouldn't have bought it 2 years ago if I would have known where I was going to be today. But I didn't think through where I would be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I didn't put that, to paper. Probably will, at some point we'll sell the home, but I didn't think about that. And that was my fault for not thinking about, if I sell my business, one, what does that look like? Am I going to be happy with the results I get? And how do I come up with a number? Well, the guy down the street sold his business for $10 million. I bet I can get $20 million. Well, let's really find out what your business is actually worth. If you sold it after taxes, what kind of income does that even create? And how does that affect me today, tomorrow, and at retirement? I want to have all this mapped out. And obviously, we can't predict the future, but we can predict predictability and what the future could look like. And we know what taxation. We know taxes probably maybe they're going to go down, maybe not. Doubt it. I don't see taxes going down. Could, but
And I think there's something there, to be said too about how we think, right? And I was thinking about this as you were talking about it. Again, we can't predict the future, but we've given some thought to what that might look like. And so what's happening in our brains is that reticular activating system, right? It's like, I thought about this scenario. I thought about this scenario. Now, are the likelihood of either one of those going to happen? Probably not.
Yeah.
The fact that you've given some effort to it, and now you're starting to see things develop as they develop, versus letting everything react back to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what I want to get in a conversation with you is like, what is the value that you bring and that our relationship brings to anybody that might be listening to this?
Here.
Because again, it starts with, hey, are you comfortable with where you're at, and where do you see yourself going?
Yeah.
And most people are going to say, yeah, I'm all right, but can I do better? If they're asking the question, can I do better? I think that's from spot where we can start. Is like we take a look at, hey, what did you do in the past? And you can step here and you correct this, where you're at now, but more importantly, where are we going to be going in the future? And then what is our plan? Because again, even if our plans don't work out exactly like we think they're going to, which they're not, by the way,
Right.
At least we've given some thought to this, like from a business standpoint, what do we want? Because most people in business, they're in business for a reason, is to make a profit.
Yeah. That's the only reason. I mean, that's it. There's no other reason.
And you have a passion, then you're making a profit. That's even better. But it's like you don't go into some place in order to just to politely lose money.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people, and then once they get down that pathway, this idea of hopelessness kind of kicks in because they're like, I'm stuck with this. I can't get rid of it, and it's too valuable, and I'm not going to give it away. So maybe we can just talk about who do we work? Who's our clients? Maybe that will be helpful.
Yeah. So like our favorite client obviously is a construction company, and I get excited about construction companies. One is they're privately held. The guys are usually really good. They work their tails off, but they have a lot of moving parts, right? They have trucks and equipment and employees and office and billing and sales, and it's really fun to see all those things and to help a business owner solve all those problems. But one of the things we've learned over the last 5 years is every business owner does everything the same way. I've never seen when somebody says, "Oh, we do things different here." No, you don't. It's exactly like all 10,000 other businesses that we've seen. It's exactly the same. Now, you might be better at sales, you might be better at the construction piece, but you went out, you bought a truck, you bought a bulldozer, you put it to work, it made 10,000 a month. You kept 10,000 a month. You bought another bulldozer, put somebody on it, hire somebody for 8,000. It makes 10,000. So now you're making 2,000, and you replicate this process over and over and over until your company starts growing, and then you start compartmentalizing. That bulldozer is not making me any money, right? And I need to sell it. I need to get rid of that employee. Or how do I afford to hire 6 more of these people? A friend of ours came to us the other day. He said, "Man, if I had $1 million, I could make $30 million with my company." I'm like, "Well, you got to make $1 million because nobody's going to give you that money. Nobody's going to walk up to you and say, here's $1 million. You got to learn how to do it." And the only way you're going to learn how to do it is maybe become more efficient, right? Maybe there's a better way. If there's a better way to pay for something, would you want to see what that looks like? So now you're doing $1 million a year, you're spending 800,000 and you kept 200. Every business, it's exactly the same. That's their profit. And then they come in and they pay taxes on that. CPA comes in and says, "Oh, you need to reduce those taxes. Oh, and by the way, you need to be saving 20% of your income for retirement." So now they implement a retirement plan that gives them some tax deductions, and now they're putting money in a bucket that they can't touch till they're 59 and a half, if they're lucky, maybe 65. So it's the same everywhere we go. Well, now there's a better plan. You could put more money and get more deductions, but you can't touch it. You can't touch that money till you're 59 and a half. Well, Robert Kiyosaki, we know this guy. What does money in motion do? Money in motion stays in motion and creates more money. So sometimes a tax deduction isn't worth what you're giving up with liquidity and access to capital and be able to buy another bulldozer, because you know that bulldozer will make you $10,000 a month. Yeah. And so that's one of the things we really like to dive into is we like moving parts. Anytime there's moving parts, we can find a lot of problems. And I think it's just that system of how money works.
So I'm going to put this kind of like my language, but it's right along with what you're saying. I've looked at a lot of business. I said there's 3 components or three milestones that businesses come in. It's like, in all of us, I mean, my business, your business, it's like effort, right? We're going to go out, we're going to do effort.
We're going to outwork everybody else.
Outwork everybody. But in order to scale, you can't do that, right? You can't work 10 times harder to earn 10 times more, because you will just burn out. And again, it's like going back to NASCAR. If you're running your best engine at red line all day long, it's going to explode. But just no getting around it. So it's that effort, right? And I appreciate that. But now it's like, okay, what can we do to be more effective in our business? Yeah. And this is where we start to, like, where you and I can kind of start to come into play. Let's start finding, is there a better way to look at taxes, or maybe reduce some costs, or just different things, like, are we being effective with what we're doing? Right. And the last part of this is the efficiency. And this is where I think this is where the real benefit comes for you and me, right? So we're finding efficiencies. Are we using $1 that can do maybe multiple things? And that's efficient, right? Okay. Or if we're spending $1, are we truly getting $1 worth of value, or really getting 80 cents worth of value? Or if we spend 80 cents and we're getting $1 worth of value, that's even more efficient. Right. And that's really the conversation that we can start to have. And that's really what I see your benefit is, like, it can be, can we be a little bit more effective? Obviously, can we find a company that gives us a better rates on our liability insurance or truck insurance, whatever it is. But more importantly, when it comes to the money, can we find efficiencies there? Yeah. And that's really where
how do we write that check? How do we pay for it? You said efficiency. There was I don't know if you remember the guy from Gas Monkey Garage, that Richard Rawlings. There's a race across America where they say go, and I think it starts somewhere like North Carolina or somewhere on the East Coast, and they race all the way to Los Angeles. And it's a race across America. Ferraris, Corvettes, all these different vehicles that are way faster than other cars. He's won it more. I think he's won it twice, maybe 3 times, and he won it in a 10-year-old Chevy Avalanche.
Really?
Not because it was faster than these other cars, but because at a high speed it was more efficient. It was getting 16 miles a gallon running at 150 miles an hour. Well, these other guys running at 150 miles an hour were getting 8 miles a gallon, so they were having to stop more and get more. So it's about being efficient, and that's what we focus on. So we take that $1 million company, instead of focusing on that 200,000 in profit and trying to figure out what we're going to do, let's focus on that 600,000 in expenses, and let's get more efficient with this. And we have people tell us all the time, I've looked through everything, it's the cheapest. I didn't say we were going to be the cheapest. We're going to be the most efficient. We're going to show you the efficiencies, so you recapture that capital, make the same dollar do 2 or 3 things. What if your retirement plan can now be your property and casualty insurance premium? Would you want to see what that looks like? And that's kind of the path that we take, and your employee benefits, and what are you doing to, to offset that stuff? And then it's just about doing good business and surrounding yourself with people that are really good at their job. And we have experts that do things, I was watching this NFL player, in NASCAR the other day. I don't remember which pit crew it was. He runs out and he slides under the car and slams that wheel on there, and he's on in like 2 seconds. And I'm like, wow, that was unbelievably fast for that guy to put that wheel on that car in 2 seconds. And I'm thinking, well, I bet you the driver can't do that. I bet you the guy that's over there cleaning the windshield can't do that. But that's why you have to have specialists as well. But you have to work as a team, and that goes back to that mountain climbing. That guy doing all those peaks with a team of people, and that's how we operate. We operate as a team. Everything we do is joint work. I'm going to bring in people that do different things that I can't do. Not that I couldn't try to do them, but I can't do them the way they can do it. And I think that's how you really give a client the best opportunity to win at what they do, is to take that load off their shoulders and say, look, we're going to handle this for you, show you, but you're going to know why you're doing it. You're going to understand why we recommended this. I'm going to show you what the outcome, here's options at retirement versus you have one bucket. Here's that money. If that doesn't work, well, now what? Yeah. My dad retired in 2008, and you know what happened in 2008? He's 60 years old. He couldn't go back to work. Once he was done, that was it. I guess he could have, but he was, health issues, and whatever he lost in the market that day, he had to make that last the rest of his life. And you want options. You want to be able to rebound. Have you seen the mountain? Like, the chart from here to the top of a mountain is not a straight line. It's up and it's down and it's way down. And then you had to have a ladder to get across the gap. And then you had to climb a rope, and then, snakes and all the things to get to the top. Well, we try to eliminate those downfalls. If we can take some of those downfalls out, we can make that ride a little easier. I think that's important too.
So I think, just for the listeners, and so they can appreciate, because it took me a while to really appreciate the scope of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
As you and I've had multiple conversations, and I've started to figure out, like, how do you fit in? So it's like this family office, and where your leadership, my leadership comes into play, is like, we can guide people through this idea of, like, we have a group of experts that we associate with that can help you with multiple things, and not just to help you, but find efficiencies because of the synergistic relationship. Like you said, if you want to go back to NASCAR, you need a good tire changer, you need a good window washer, you need the jack man, you need the gas guy. All of those but they have to work in tandem.
Yeah.
Versus, you get your tires, and then you roll up and you get gas, and you roll up and you get somebody pull the film off the windshield, then you roll. So I mean, it's not like the next stop. It can be all done at the same time. And where I see your value is, like, even with some of the software you put together, which I love, I'm really getting to really understand and love the software. It brings some clarity, like, hey, we can be doing all this at once, or we can bring people to bring in their expertise, because again, I'm not going to be the expertise there.
Sure.
I'm going to trust that you have that person.
Yeah.
And then when we're done, the client is going to go, I've been educated. I've got some awareness to where I need to go. I've had some action items I can take, and now I can start to say, now I can grow this business, and I have a game plan to either sell it, be more efficient, transfer it to my heirs or my employees, whatever it is that you want. Because everybody, like you said, everybody's doing the same thing, but everybody's different.
Everybody's different.
Everybody's different.
And then it comes down to, like, okay, let's implement a 401k plan into your company. We've determined that that's the best thing for you. Now who you go to? Now you got to go find a 401k person. Well, they're not all created equally, because we find issues all the time. We met with a really big group here in Dallas. They had a Final Four party. God, that's how long ago this was. And a couple of them, I asked, I said, what do you guys do about the bond on the 401k plan? They go, we don't worry about that. We don't sell property and casualty insurance. So if they don't have a bond on their 401k plan, it opens up an audit for the Department of Labor. And it's public record. They see it, so they know who has it and who doesn't have it. So this guy may be incredibly good with 401k plans, but he says, we don't care if they get it or not. We don't have any, that has nothing to do with me. I'm like, that's your client. And we have a QR code. All they do is scan it, and they get their bond in 30 seconds. But the fact that they don't care to take the time to say, I'm going to make sure that you're not opening up an audit for your Department of Labor.
That's huge.
Yeah, little things. It's little bitty things like that are out there that are big things for a business. I don't know about you, but I don't want an audit. No, I mean, not that I'm doing anything wrong, but just the time-consuming aspect of bringing somebody in your business and stopping day-to-day activities and say, we got to stop. We have to do an audit now. We got to go through every single thing, make sure you're not overworking people, overtime. I mean, businesses, they don't have time for this, but you mean to tell me that one little thing that's public record, you can go to the Judy Diamond reports and pull it up, and it tells us that they have a correct bond or not.
That's crazy. Just that one little simple thing is,
Yes.
Again, it's not so much it's the cost of the audit is bad. It's the time.
The time.
And when you put a dollar amount to the time and just it's stopping your business. It's stopping you from doing your business because now you have to give some thought to something that somebody chose not to do. That's the whole point. It's like, but if you can bring it all in and say, hey Brent, and again, we can all learn, and we're all learning as we go along in this life.
Sure.
They crucified the last perfect person in the world. So, but we definitely have a group of people that think like, hey, we thought about this. That's what I like about the group mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's the beehive mind.
Well, I know if I bring you a client and I say, look, Wade's going to meet with this client, I can leave the room. I know exactly what you're going to tell. Now, I may not know the story you're going to tell, but I know the message that you're going to deliver to that client, and I don't need to be there to hear it. I already know what you're going to say to them. And so that's very important to be able to trust your team. There was something I was going to tell you. We were just thinking about. Oh, I made some notes. Let me. You were just talking about it, and I wanted to dive into it a little bit farther. Give me just a second; it'll come back to me. But it goes back to that working together and these different things. I was fortunate enough to have an intricate part of this lives in my house. And then when we first started selling our software, I took it to a really good friend of mine that his dad created some big time software in our industry. And when I showed it to him, he looked at me, and this guy's a number one producer at 3 different agencies across the country in the fixed insurance side. One America being these up there, and some other ones. I'm not going to name the names, but great companies. He goes, I can't do this. I don't have the people. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that. And I thought, man, we were going to sell software, and it was going to be our ride, horse off into the sunset, but it didn't work out that way. And I looked at Suzanne. She looked at me and I said, we have to go build a team of people now. And so then going in and vetting people that understood what we were trying to, and trust me, we've burned through a lot of them, trying to find good people that they'll put themselves over the client that says, okay, this is what's best for the client. We need to do this first. And I'm telling you, when I got in with that CPA firm that we worked for, this was what we saw over and over and over again. And it is a shame. It is shameful that this is the industry standard. When we look at the CFP designation, we dive into that program and see all the flaws that they're teaching advisors. This industry is bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, I think part of it is, again, the rival center. It's like, here's one way of doing it, and everything else to them is bad.
Yeah.
Like you and I both know, there's never you think it's all good or all bad.
Yeah.
It's like, it depends on where the client is at, where
Sure.
they want to go,
Yeah.
and what their vision is. And so, again, that's kind of how I've always approached everything in our industry. Is like, I'm never going to say something is all bad.
Yeah.
Maybe once in a while I'll say all bad. For the most part, there's degrees, and like, where does that fit in with your picture? If it doesn't serve you and serve what your purpose is, then let's not entertain it. And get rid of that mindset, and then we can engage in something else. So, I think there's like you said, there's a real benefit toward, to your point. I look to your software going, I just my math background, I can get this. I mean, I really could, but quite honestly, that's not something I want to do.
Sure.
It's not like the conversations you're having and what you're doing for clients, which is this aggregation and this holistic picture.
It's a beating. It's a lot. It's a beating. It's a lot. So, but I feel like I'm not. If I don't do it, I'm leaving. I'm not giving the client the best advice.
Right. And I'm like, I want to be part of that cog. I don't want to be the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I know where my expertise lies.
Yeah.
I love whole life insurance. I love what it does. Is it like the only product my clients should buy? No. 100% agree, because they need property casualty insurance. They maybe need some term insurance, which we sell a lot of.
Yeah.
They might need some trusts, some wills, whatever it might be. They need all these things, and this is why we love this family office idea that I want to bring to my clients. And I just want to, for everybody that's listening to this, that know what you're doing is incredible. And it's like, everybody put their ego away again.
Yeah.
We're going to be a great service.
First thing we do is that business valuation. We let them know exactly where they stand, what's their business worth. If they sold it today, what's that going to look like? That property and casualty review. We were reviewing some policies. Like, company the other day had 36 vehicles that were not insured. Now, how do you have 36 vehicles that are not insured? How do you not know this? Well, one, they don't get a list of the assets. So the property and casualty person doesn't see a list of the asset to make sure that matches up. Then they had TRIA on their building, which is terrorism. They're in the middle of nowhere and they have terrorism on their shop. Like, that's an extra fee that they're paying. It's like, why are you paying this? So we asked the business owner, he goes, well, I really like my property and casualty person. And I said, okay, let me ask you a question. You have a guy in the shop back here. If he walks out with $2,000 worth of equipment tomorrow, are you going to keep him or fire him? He's like, well, no, he's stealing. I'm going to fire him. I said, well, that's what your agent is doing to you. He's stealing money from you. And it's so the fact that you would just tell him to fix it and not fire him is telling your employees it's okay to steal. It's not okay to do things to people that the value's not there. It's not okay to sell somebody something they don't need. Yeah, it makes you a good salesman and pays your bills at home, but I feel really bad selling somebody something that they don't need it.
Or have an understanding how it fits in the picture. And I think that's what the real part about what you do is, like, you draw this, you draw the picture out and say, where do each of these pieces of the puzzle come to play?
Yeah.
That's probably the part that I see that's so exciting to me. Is like, it's not just done in a vacuum. It's like, we're going to put together your picture that you want.
Your picture. It's unique every time.
But each of them have a puzzle piece, or you're going to put those puzzle pieces together, and you're going to say, here's what needs to be done. And then on top of that, help them with, like, okay, this is our expert person with our fees. Yeah. This is our expert and so on.
This one's pretty interesting. We met with a guy a few weeks ago that has a really cool debt program that shows people how to get out of debt rapidly. And it's, you pay off, you get a line of credit, you pay off this credit card first, recapture that money. And every month you're dumping your money back into the line of credit. So you're paying very low interest and you're paying off all these credit cards. And then next thing you know, you've knocked 15 years off your house. And I said, why do people have to be in debt to use this type of system? Why can't they just be starting with zero? He goes, yeah, but it works better if they're in debt. I was like, no, it doesn't. So you understand the way the money works. I said, it works this way for people that aren't in massive debt as well. It actually helps them going forward, not becoming a slave to their debt. So I said, that's what we teach people, is the exact same principle. But you don't have to be in tons of debt for me. The goal is not necessarily to show you how to get out of debt. It shows you how to not go into debt in the future and not have to, to mortgage everything. Ultimately the goal is to put more money in your pocket. That's why you own a business. But if you have to do 40, 50, 60 million dollars, and we see companies doing this kind of revenue and they're bringing home $500,000, I'm thinking, man, one bad month, the wheels fall off of this thing. 2 bad months, COVID hits. I said, the wheel blow off this thing immediately. You got to be smarter and we got to be better and we got to be more efficient. So because those numbers just don't work. And somebody says, well, he's making $500,000 a year. He's doing something right. Yeah, but look at the risk he's having to take to get there. And you got to learn how money works. You got to learn how that money in motion stays in motion. And all these things with financial charges, we got to get a hold of them. We have to get control of those things that are killing us. And we got to make the same dollar do 2, 3, 4 things. We got to make it do multiple things, and we got to get more efficient. And unfortunately, we have looked everywhere. We found one firm we really hit it off with these guys there up in Boston area that they're close to doing what we're doing, but there's still some pieces missing that they haven't put in there yet. And they're coming around and wanting to get on board with some more stuff. But I haven't seen anybody else doing this. Like, there's nobody doing this. How many advisors do you have? You have your property casualty person, your life person, your disability insurance person, your retirement planning person, your group benefit person, your group health person, your CPA, your attorney. I'm sure I'm missing some more. There's a bunch more I'm probably not even thinking about. And this one's really interesting. So the study is who is if you own a business, you come home and you talk to your wife and you say, look, honey, I want to go spend $1 million or borrow $1 million and we're going to start this company. Who is your most trusted advisor? And this is the biggest one. Who is the person, if they say yes, then you move forward over anybody else? It's your spouse. If your spouse shakes her head yes or shakes his head yes, that's enough for you to move forward, even though it might be a terrible idea. But the spouse is number one. I had a friend of mine, we played golf together, and we played golf together for 2 or 3 years, and his wife was, always happy, and I'm not going to say dingy, but kind of had the dingy personality. And one day I was like, what kind of work do you do? She goes, oh, I work at this. I'm the vice president of this bank. And her husband looked at me and goes, what's in your wallet? I thought it was hilarious. And I started thinking about that saying is like, your spouse is your number one trusted person. If they give you the go ahead, hey, I'm going to buy a new truck today. Nope, can't buy one today. But the spouse says, yes, you go buy a new truck. You didn't ask the CPA. You didn't ask the attorney if it's okay. It's weird how it comes back to that spouse as your trusted person. If they give you the go ahead, you typically say, let's move forward.
100%. And that's why it's so important to, again, you educate the decision makers.
Yeah.
And you bring it to us in a form, in a sense that everybody can understand it.
Yeah.
And how does it bring value to the family? How does it bring everything we need to be doing is how does it bring value to the family?
Yeah.
And so, kind of leads me to a couple of questions, if we want to wrap up, is like,
Okay.
hey, if I'm listening to this, how what you do help me solve my problems? That's going to be the first one.
Okay.
And then whether it's like, what is this really going to cost me? I mean, is it, what's the true cost of like, hey, I want to engage with Brent or I want to engage with Wade in a relation with Brent? What does that look like? Because again, I think that's all great theory, but what does when the rubber hits the road, what does that look like?
Well, and I think we go back to is one, we're going to give you a comprehensive overview of everything you're doing in your business. So what I mean by that is, all these decisions you have to make. What does your property and casualty look like? What does your buy-sell agreement look like if you have partners? Do you even have one? We're going to look at everything first and say, okay, here's a snapshot of where you are. Here's the issues that we're seeing that we think we can fix. And if we fix those, here's the result of what we think it could look like for you. And typically it doesn't cost anything to do this. It's that time. The only thing that's going to cost you a little time is, we got to get profit and loss statements. We got to look at a few documents to put all this on the model. And it's going to take us, 60, 90 days to put all this. This isn't something I run to a computer and shoot out an answer. We're going to go in, we're going to put some serious time into this, and we're going to look at everything and say, is this the most efficient that it can be? Can we make this dollar do something else? Can I make my exit plan be part of my daily plan? Because, what good is a retirement plan for somebody who has a company that's worth 50, 60, 70 million dollars and they're sticking away 18,000 a year into a retirement plan? They're wasting their money. That extra million they have at retirement, we could be way more efficient with other stuff with that money that they could use in their business. It probably could make their business worth a lot more money. But those are the kind of the ideas that we come up with, and the creativity that we try to get with each client is, what are the issues? I can usually walk into businesses within 15 minutes, tell you what the issues are, whether it's employees, whether it's payroll, whether it's huge overhead, inventory, insurance. And, a lot of the insurances, we all see these rates just keep getting more and more expensive. How do we get a hold of, what if I told you it doesn't matter what the rate, if you cash flow, those prices don't even matter? Wouldn't that be a cool situation to be in? And then we give you this book. It's about this thick, 150, 60, 70 pages of everything that's in your business. That's the details. And then we sit back and start talking concepts. If we make this work a little more efficiency and take this money and pay this, and we take this money and we pay this, and all of a sudden that becomes more efficient, kind of like that guy that shows people how to get out of debt rapidly. What if we just show you how to grow rapidly? What if it's the same strategy, but the reverse of it? And I thought that was interesting that he has this program that shows people how to get out of debt quick, but it doesn't show them how to gain wealth quickly. What if I told you it's the same process?
Well,
Now we don't have to have a debt process and a wealth process. It's the same. It is 100% the same process. And now we just get more efficient with those dollars, and we get you out of debt so you can buy more bulldozers and more tractors. Or if COVID hits again and you're out of business for 60 days, are you going to can you weather the storm? Can you make it through that time?
So, to that point, it's, and again, we have all the trusted advisors. When somebody would say, "Hey, I got a great relationship with my financial planner, my CPA, blah blah," whoever might they have a great relationship. We may always come back down to, "Hey, that's fine." And I think you're wrong already. It's a trust but verify.
Yeah,
And again, they probably want to know too. I mean, if they're truly a good friend and trusted advisor, thinking that they're doing a good job for you, and you can come in and say, "Hey, have you thought about this?" And again, if they can show some value there, why would they want to why wouldn't they want to know?
Why wouldn't you want to know? Well, I think it goes back to when I worked at the CPA firm, and that guy said, "What my client comes in and they ask for this, why would I want to teach them something else? Why would I want to take the time?" And listen, this is the advice we're getting from people. And I'm like, almost sick in my stomach when I hear it. Look, I'm not here to talk about your guy being a bad guy or a good guy. We're going to measure it, and we're going to say, here's where your guy's at. Okay, here's what we recommend. Maybe we keep him. Maybe we hire him. Maybe we recruit him. Maybe he's so good, we walk up to the guy and say, "Man, I've got to work for you." It hasn't happened yet, but maybe that's part of it. I was going to read this to you real quick. Let me pull it up. It's a LinkedIn post I made today, and it was directly targeting this. So give me 1 second. I'll pull this up. What if everything that you've learned about business is wrong? And this is the question I like to ask. What if everything you've learned is wrong? What if the advice that you've been giving business owners, it just isn't complete, right? It's incomplete. Not only is it incomplete, what if it's harming a business owner? How would you feel about that if you knew that the advice that you're giving could be harming a business owner and that you're the reason they're not going to be in business in 10 years? Would you want to see what that looks like? What if you had a chance to fix it? Would you actually rise to the challenge, or would you just say, "Well, my client asked for this, I gave it to him"? This is actually a LinkedIn post today. But are you strong enough to see it, or will it be business as usual? And here's the reality: 80% of business owners will not be in business in 10 years. The system is not working, and it's time to make some changes. And
There's some real wisdom there too. Just because I was thinking about when you were talking about this, I was thinking about people I know that they have a sense of burnout in their business because they're like, man, I'm exhausted. I can't seem to grow or whatever it might be. And I'm thinking like these are the type of clients that need to be having a conversation with you as part of my team.
I would love to, man. Anytime you want me to speak to anyone, you can ask my wife. I practice this stuff even when I'm not on here. I practice saying what I'm going to say. But it's about being good at your craft. What do you do if you're a football player? You got to practice. 90% of the time you're practicing, 10% of the time you're playing. And we practice. When we're not doing this, I'm going to get education on stuff I don't know. We were just at a conference for 2 days learning about something that I'm never going to sell, ever. Like I'm never, ever, ever going to implement this process, but I spent 3 days learning it so that when it came up, I knew how to say, this is why we don't do this. And I think it's very important to know making decisions with a purpose. Why would I not do this? It sounds like a great idea. Okay, well, here's what's happening.
And so just again, for the people that are listening, this isn't something that you have to be, $50 million in sales or have 50 employees. I was thinking about, is this something for a guy that's a one-man shop and maybe got 5 employees?
Perfect. It's perfect.
Because again, those are the people that either want to exit their business, but they don't know how.
Yeah.
Or they want to grow it. So maybe 10 years down the road, they can exit the business. But again, it's about bringing that intentionality to it.
We have a client, we started with this past week, Wade, that she's a one-person shop, no employees. And she needs help worse than anybody I've ever seen. She needs help drastically because she's having to do it all herself. Like she's having to do all of it. Yeah. So the smallest get to it. And we understand the importance of the business owner and how valuable they are. So we have this model where we draw out all the things they have to do and they're in the center. And they got, they're the ones that have to make all these decisions. Our job is to help them organize it and show them how to make it where they can understand it, make sure they're getting a fair deal, they're getting what they're paying for, and what they're, are they overpaying, are they underpaying? I do believe you get what you pay for. But what I've seen in this industry is a lot of people are getting ripped off too. Yeah.
And the other side of that equation too is like, I think, clients that are, they have, like you said, maybe 150 employees, good revenue, but it's so big that nobody's came in and said, how do we find efficiencies so we don't need to make our profit margin can go from 20% to 25% or 24%, which is a 40% increase, right? So if you think about it from that standpoint, it's huge. Yeah. But that difference is really what your comfort level in your business is. That's your buffer for when you run into a COVID or 2008 or whatever it might be. If you start planning with that, if you can find the small efficiencies, they add up.
How hard is it to increase revenue? It's hard. It's easier to go in and focus on. It's easier for us to go in and focus on this stuff and help you become more efficient instead of me showing you how to make more sales. I mean, you're the salesperson. That's your job. I may have some ideas and stuff that we've seen, but for the most part, you're the home builder. You have your relationships with people that buy a home. I can't make you sell more houses, but we can become more efficient on how we buy that lumber. And is this how, you hear about holding costs? That's a big one. Well, I had to hold this. What if it didn't? What if holding costs didn't affect you? Would you take your time, go a little slower, and build the house correctly, or would you throw it up as fast as you can throw it up? Maybe both. I mean, maybe a little both. But this has been a lot of fun to get to talk about this. To not just to usually we're talking to clients and we don't get to talk to other people. But if anybody does want to see what this looks like, we don't charge fees for this. We put our money where our mouth is. It is an involved process. It is hand holding. It is a lot of back and forth. We've had arguments with our clients before. But just because we're passionate, we're very passionate. And we want them to be passionate. We want them to be passionate about their business. And it's good to talk. It's good to get angry. It's good to get mad. And it's good to find out that, hey, look, I've been doing this for 30 years and this was wrong. And it's not necessarily wrong, but there's a better way.
Going forward.
Yeah.
It may not have been wrong, but it's not right going forward.
And things change. Like everything's evolving, everything's changing. So I really appreciate the time. But if business owners want to sit and talk and learn more, That's what we're here for. I mean, we're here to educate. Everybody on our team has the same goals, the same mission. If we can't educate you on something, we're not doing our job. We want you to make decisions with a purpose. We want you to have a better life. We want you to have more money, more wealth, more security, more safety, more. We want the abundance, right, with a less risk. And we want to bring that risk tolerance down. So,
Yeah. So we'll have your contact information down in the show notes so people can see how to get a hold of you.
Okay.
You can reach out to me. And
Sure.
I can connect with you as well. Either way.
Yeah.
But if you've listened to this and you don't know me, you don't Brent, or you're familiar with him, I didn't say engage in the conversation. What does it really cost you? It takes some time. Nothing worth doing is going to be like for free, right? There's always that cost, a little bit of time.
yeah.
But if you could step over a penny and pick up $1 million, would you not want to do that?
Yeah. Would you want to see what that looks like? If I could if I could increase your retirement income by 30% and you don't have to do anything different, would you want to see what that looks like? Yeah.
To save your cost.
Yeah.
Like you said, revenue is the hard part.
Yeah.
Expenses and inefficiencies have now become,
Yeah.
for us, it's become the easier part because like we can see this. We've been down this road, like I said,
times.
enough gray hair that we understand what that looks like, and now we can say, okay, maybe if you thought about doing this or if you thought about implementing this, and start with changes. They don't have to be all at once.
No, this is ongoing. This is a relationship that we'll have forever. And that's important to me, because I'm going to have to see you again. I'm going to have to look you in the eye. And at Christmas, I got, if this doesn't work out, I got to answer for it next year. And it's going to work out. We like guarantees. That's why we do the things we do. We like guarantee opportunities, let you take your risk where you're comfortable taking risk, that you do with your money. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
well, I appreciate the time. I could probably
We can do this for hours. Yeah.
I don't know that everybody wants to listen to our brains running off for a couple hours, but I do appreciate the hour,
Yeah.
the time we spent, because it's so valuable. It is like, I'm going to say it again. We've said it probably five times, but I'm going to say it one more time. It's like the real value is like, what got you to where your spot is in your business, and you probably feel it. You can probably just instinctively know this in your gut. It's like, what do I need to do tomorrow? Because I was teaching a class in this idea of like, what's our identity?
Mm-hmm.
Our identity, if we hold on to it too long, will become an anchor as we climb and we grow.
Yeah.
So what does our identity have to be out ahead of us that actually pulls us? And I think there's a real strength to that I would encourage people to say, what do I need to do to grow to the position where I don't have to feel that financial pressure each and every day?
Yeah.
Because maybe 5 years ago you didn't feel that pressure. But again, it goes back to your point. 10 years down, there's an 80% likelihood that business failed because it hasn't evolved. It hasn't grown.
Yeah.
And part of the growth process is having people ask questions or asking people tough questions like, what is it I need to be doing? And then say, okay, now how do I implement that? If your person isn't giving you a great implementation strategy, can kind of show you what that's going to look like, I would say, give us a call either way, but just know that, that person might have been great for you, might have been a close puzzle piece for you, but maybe now that person is like, hey, I need to grow beyond that. So it's just something to think about.
Just the conversations are where it starts. We watched the guy get shot over conversations, right? But that's wild because this information is dangerous. That's the game we play in. We play in the information game. So we want to educate and teach and make friendships.
Yeah, and give people that, what I call an off ramp up the information superhighway.
Yeah.
There's so much information out there right now. I can go to ChatGPT probably.
Yeah.
I can probably find an answer, not the right answer, but an answer to all the questions you and I just talked about.
Yeah.
But how does it affect me and my life, and how do I implement it? What's the strategy to implement it? And what's the proper sequence of implementing? Those are all
That's a
questions
big deal.
that can be answered by asking, ChatGPT, how do I make my business more efficient?
Awesome. I love it, man. Thank you so much for the time today. Let me know if you need anything from me. It is the Boss Financial Group. Boss stands for Business Owner Solution Strategies. That's our goal, is to help business owners. We personal planning space. Obviously, we don't like to work in that space. It's too personal. And people, yes, we like to play in the business owner space, but we do have personal people we work with as well. And that's one of the spaces that Wade and his team are extremely good at. And that's why we're on the same page.
Yeah, because those two teams have to work together, right? The personal space and the business space, because the reason why you run your business is to serve your families.
That's it. Serve the family. Thank you so much again. And let's talk soon, Wade.
All right. Thanks, Brett. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
I appreciate you spending some time with me. Change starts with understanding, and action builds the future. We'll catch you on the next episode.